All within a room I can do. Brighter day for me and you. The best part of waking up.
The best part of waking up is having a job. And that is exactly what the hardworking men and women at J.M. Smucker Co. who bring you Folgers coffee won't have if they don't get the jab. Hey, Smuckers, consumers are now boycotting your 40 brands. Call 1-888-550-9555 and tell them everyone should have the freedom of choice.
Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever home. What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. She's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner. Is it in her? Just illusion, manifestation, or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Rippin' Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Rippin' Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Multiverse broadcasting system initiated.
Lasers.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live across the multiverse from a secret cave hidden deep within the wilderness of Tennessee. That's right. We're ripping through the electromagnetic soup, tearing through the atmosphere, and tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show for Wednesday, October the 20th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, the DarkWolf's Den seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are going to carry on our State of Mystery series with a state that is known for its mysteries, actually. That is, of course, the great state of Louisiana. From cryptids to UFOs and, of course, ghosts, in the home of American voodoo, you know there's going to be a lot of cool paranormal. And we're going to go over all that and more here in just a moment, but first, let's go ahead and give a quick shout out to our chat rooms over there on both I'm not sure. There we go. I'm not sure you guys can hear me over there. Go ahead and undo my. I just locked up on my system again. I don't know what's going on, guys. This thing has given us so much issue in the last couple days and week. I cannot even tell you. But it's great to see everybody over here. We've got Rippin' Rabbit Hole Chat. We've got Sandy B checking in. saying, hey, glad to see you, Sandy B. JoJo's checking in over there. Also, glad to see you, JoJo's. Bear with me, guys. Those on the radio, they're really upset right now. The multiverse broadcasting system is really messed up tonight. So bear with us, guys. I do apologize. We'll get back into swing of things here in just a moment. X-Gen, glad to see you here. Alva Yarder, always a pleasure. And then over in the DarkWolf's Den Show chat. Right now, we're only going out to YouTube. I'm resetting the connector over to the radio as we speak. So, Louisiana below sea level, that's why they keep flooding, says Sandy B in the DarkWolf's Den Show chat. Now, that is interesting. That could very well be flooding. JoJo's Let's Go Brandon, absolutely. Once again, I do apologize for those audio issues we were having a moment ago. We will get the audio systems going here in just a moment. As a matter of fact, about 75 seconds before the connection resets here. My Life DIY says, yeah, good to be here. Good to see you, My Life DIY. Yeah, a little bit of audio difficulties, Java. Once again, the multiverse broadcasting unit, I think it's a little bit defective, and those suckers are really, really hard to come by. You'd be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't, you know. I know for me, it took a while to get one from the universe that it came from, so I really would hate to send it back. You thought Radio Shack was bad about repairing your stuff. Those guys are a lot worse. My Life says full moon and meteor shower tonight. Now, that's interesting. Will you guys be out there watching that meteor shower? I'd like to know. I'm going to be outside here in a little while, probably when I head to backstage lounge, and might be out there watching the meteor shower myself, but it is really, really great to see everybody here. I've got an incredible team that comes every week, guys. I cannot thank you enough. And if you guys listening on demand, we very sincerely appreciate every last one of you guys, too. Any questions we asked, always make sure to go ahead and drop down a comment down below, whether on the Rippin' Rabbit Hole YouTube channel or on the DarkWolf's Den YouTube channel. And just let us know, right? Maybe. There we go. So we should be going out to the radio now. And I'm probably double audio over on the OBS, so give me a second, guys. I think the broadcasting system is back in place. Yeah, I believe we are good to go. So once again, I do apologize for the delay. For those listening over on the radio, my sincere apologies. Yes, we are going out on the radio now. Looks like the glitch has been fixed for the moment. And I, once again, do appreciate everybody's patience. It's been an incredible week. I hope you guys haven't had an incredible week. Hope you guys have had an incredible week. We're just glad to be back on the air, guys. No matter how much trouble this thing gives us, we're still going to enjoy what we're doing, right? We're going to have a good time tonight, no matter what. In the state of Louisiana, well, let me tell you, you should expect a little crazy. Like I mentioned a moment ago, home of voodoo. You need to start talking about the crazy. You know the crazy is going to come back and get you one way or the other, right? And of course, before we dive into the crazy paranormal that is Louisiana, we have two more little fun segments to do. The first of which we call And once again, it looks like our system is giving us all kinds of trouble. Hopefully I can find the microphone over here. I do apologize once again, ladies and gentlemen. It does look like our system has decided to give us all kinds of trouble tonight. I do not understand why this thing keeps doing what it's doing. We will get it fixed here. I promise, guys. Just bear with us. Yeah, let's go, Brandon. It's that kind of night. It's been a night for sure, right? We were back and then we weren't. So I'm not sure really what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen. I know here in a couple seconds we should be coming back online. We've just had glitch after glitch tonight. It happens, you know. That's the way things happen. We can't get mad about it. Apparently I meant to talk to you guys just a couple minutes longer. Let's see what everybody's saying over here in the chat room. They say to look away from the moon to see showers better. Well, yeah, I would say so. You know, real quick while we're waiting, I have a real quick story. We had the Mandela Effect conference in Idaho. And we decided to take everybody out and you know, look at the stars because they had a really special place to view the stars there, which seemed like a good idea at the time. However, leave it to me to plan that thing on the one night that we had the most full moon that we've had in a long time, right? So all these stars got shined out by this really bright moon. So I basically accomplished showing people the moon, you know? Oh my goodness. It was one of those nights like this one where even the best laid plans tend to have little effects here and there. Hopefully once we get this going here, we can do our Today in History segment and we can carry on with the show. That would be absolutely great. But if I'm not broadcasting to the radio, I'm really not doing much of anything, so we really do need to get that connection secured first. Once again, I do apologize for those listening on YouTube. In the meantime, if this works, perhaps, let's go ahead and check out our information that was garnered to us a moment ago from Rippin' Common Sense Radio. I think it's that button right there. And see if this is going to be working on our behalf also. Yeah, it's one of those nights, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, thank you so very much for bearing with us.
Oh, what that aroma can do, brighter day for me and you. The best part of waking up.
The best part of waking up is having a job, and that is exactly what the hardworking men and women at J.M. Smucker who bring you Folgers coffee won't have if they don't get the jab. Hey, Smuckers, consumers are now boycotting your 40 brands. Call 1-888-550-9555 and tell them everyone should have the freedom of choice.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone should have the freedom of choice. And that is something we strongly believe in here at the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. We also believe in trying to continue the show, so without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let us try this again. Today in History. You know, it's not very often that I'm able to find a Today in History that actually matches the state in which we're talking about. However, today, that's not the case. Check this out, ladies and gentlemen. On this day in 1803, the U.S. Senate ratifies the Louisiana Purchase. This would go on to become the entire Midwest section of the United States of America, and that was ratified by the Senate on this day in 1803. And that is today's segment of Today in History. How cool is that, huh? And of course, we're not talking about the entire Midwest tonight. We've covered a couple of those states so far, but we're focusing primarily on the state of Louisiana tonight. And we have one more special little segment before we really dig into the fun. And we call this segment
Say What?
And as you guys know, normally at this point is where I would do a quote of the day. And last week we tried to do the gravestones, the top 5 gravestone sayings, although we had some technical issues on Thursday and I wasn't able to show the pictures, unfortunately. However, I've got something really special for you guys today. Everyone knows the 10 Commandments, but I'd be willing to bet that you haven't heard the 10 Commandments Cajun style. Check this out.
All right. The Cajun Ten Commandments. I am the Lord your God. Number 1. God is number 1, and that's all. Number 2. Don't pray to nothing or nobody, just God. Number 3. Don't cuss nobody, especially the good Lord. Number 4. When it be Sunday, pass yourself by God's house. Number 5. Your mama, your daddy done did it all. Listen to them. Number 6, killing duck and fish, that's okay. People, no. 7, God done give you a wife, sure. Sleep with just her. Number 8, don't take nobody's pirogue or nothing else. Number 9, stop lying. Your tongue gonna fall out your mouth. Number 10, don't go wanting somebody else's stuff.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the Cajun 10 Commandments. And that is today's segment of
Say What?
Great words to live by there. And speaking of living by, a lot of people in Louisiana live by the bayou. And of course, as we know, the bayou is full of crazy type creatures.
It wouldn't be proper to talk about Louisiana without mentioning a few creatures that are said to make the swamps their home. From what I have read, a lot of people consider this being an urban legend, but others say it is very real. It is known as the Parlangua, and it is said to reside in the area of Rapides Parish near the city of Alexandria. It is described as being part man and part alligator, but for all extensive purposes, it is a lizard man.
And, of course, we know the lizard man is still in question to whether or not should be considered a cryptid or an alien. Just the same, the bayou is like the one place I would expect to find a reptile man, right? A lizard man. If no place else in the country, the bayou, makes a lot of sense to me, right? But what would you guys consider a lizard man? Would you consider it an alien or a cryptid? Go ahead, put a 1 in the chat room if you think the lizard man shouldn't be a cryptid, it's an alien. Go ahead, put a 2 in the chat room if you think absolutely it's a cryptid, possibly even one that lives underground. And put a 3 in the chat room if you're not quite sure how to call it either way on that one.
It is said to stand around 10 feet tall, is covered in green scales that are said to be bulletproof, is superhumanly strong, it has long black talons on each of its digits, red eyes, of course, and a very long tail that it utilizes as a weapon. Its head is very much like an alligator since it has a long snout with many sharp teeth in its mouth, but is normally seen walking on its back legs.
So I'm already not a huge fan of alligators, but with that said, an alligator walking around on 2 legs like you and me, that is uber scary to me.
One of the oddest characteristics is the fact that it can apparently roar very loudly. If this wasn't bad enough, apparently it is known to be able to climb trees easily.
Well, there went my idea of climbing a tree and waiting it out.
There are many rumors as to what this being is, such as a vengeful spirit, a deformed human, to a military project gone wrong. Sightings of this creature are said to date back to the 1960s, but there really hasn't been any physical proof of it. Normally, this detail makes the creature questionable, but from the tales I have read, and may actually be a cryptid that doesn't leave any victims alive to provide proof.
Remember, a lack of evidence is not evidence of lack.
A frequently cited encounter claims that at one point the police were called to the nearby swamp where a car had been found submerged under the water. When they removed the vehicle, they found the bodies of both passengers inside, but the driver's window had been smashed in and the body was half eaten. Many people in the area have reported that many of their large livestock had went missing. When investigated, a drag-marked trail was found leading towards the swamp. This is where a pile of carcasses was discovered, all half-eaten. Many assume that this creature likes to drag its victims to a certain location in order to finish them off.
And that kind of behavior is actually seen a number of different ways in the animal kingdom. Have you ever seen your dog go up to a food bowl, grab a piece of food, walk off to a certain spot and eat it? I mean, that's not completely out of the realm of possibility that this creature would have that same type of instinct, if you will.
What can be said is that this being is popular enough to have a song written about it in 1983 by a band named the Cahoots. It's not very often you find that.
And I actually happen to have a sample of that song right here.
The Parlangua, the swamp boogie man, half alligator and the other half man. Son, don't go when you hear the call of the swamp water booger, the Parlangua.
And it's actually a pretty good song. I always like a good ballad, right? A song that tells a story, and this is definitely one of those type songs. But before we go any further, let's see what you guys said about the last question. 1, if you think Lizard Man is an alien. 2, if you think he's an underground cryptid type creature. 3, if you're unsure.
Another oddity that falls in this realm is the being known as the Latish.
And let's see what you guys had to say over here. We've got 2 from JoJo's. Says, it's an underground cryptid. Definitely. Who else we got over here? Scarecrow Strawman in the Rippin' Rabbit Hole chat says 3. He's not quite sure. I thought we had another one over here. Can't call it, says Scarecrow. I think 2, says Sandy B. Probably an underground cryptid. Scarecrow, that's my jam. That's a good song, right? It had a really good beat to it. Seriously though, if you guys like ballads, I listened to the whole song. I really, really enjoyed it.
This one has various legends behind its origins, including stories from Native American lore.
As you guys know, I pay a lot more of attention to the Native American lore.
While its beginning is debated, all agree that it is normally found in the Terrebonne Parish area and is a human-like alligator. It likes to spend all of its time in the swamps looking for prey. Normally, it chooses to flip over boats and then attack the passengers that fall into the water. I found some legends claiming that its eyes were hypnotic and could cause its victims to become paralyzed. Others state that it can be detected by the strong smell of rotting vegetation. Although, with that detail, I don't know how helpful that would be in a swamp.
You know, listening to these 2 different stories, I can't help but wonder if perhaps we're not looking at 2 separate creatures at all, but a species of the same type of creature. These lizard men or alligator men may be pretty much one and the same, you know what I mean? Maybe even perhaps the same creature itself, the Parlangua. But what do you guys think? Do you think we are looking at a couple separate creatures here, or one of the same species? Go ahead and put a 1 in the chat room if you think it's the same species we're looking at here. A multitude of alligator men from the same species. Put a 2 in the chat room if you think, nope, these are 2 completely separate incidents altogether and 2 completely different creatures. And put a 3 in the chat room if you're completely unsure.
Moving on to something that doesn't call a swamp its home is the Grunch. This creature is said to make its home on Grunch Road and other locations around New Orleans. The legends surrounding it date back to when people first started making the location a home, and sightings have been prevalent up until 2007. Now, much like other Louisiana lore, the description varies drastically depending on what version you're looking at. In one tale, they were actually a group of albino little people who were shunned and became bloodthirsty.
And this would not be the first time we have heard of the little people turning, for lack of better terms, evil.
In another version, they appear to be some type of small, intelligent monkey.
Either way, they seem to be little people, but the next part of the story completely changes the game.
Although, the more interesting version is that of the state's own Chupacabra. This one is described as standing only 3 to 4 feet tall. Its head is semi-goat or bulldog-like. Its skin is black or gray and covered in scales. It has spikes running down its back. It is very intelligent, and its eyes glow a bluish-green color.
So the one that I seen was closer to this. It was about a foot tall, if that. I would dare even say a foot. It did not have the spikes on the back, and it did not have the green-blue eyes either.
Much like the Chupacabra, it will attack animals to drain blood, but rather than 2 puncture marks, it leaves 1. The grunt is said to have a very pungent smell, and has a scream or howl that is likened to that of a banshee.
And again, a huge difference between the one that I seen and this one here. The one that I seen had no sound. It was very quiet. As a matter of fact, all the kills that it made was done in the middle of the day, and nobody heard a thing. I believe there would have been a banshee scream. It would have kind of been a dead giveaway, no pun intended.
Many stories have emerged that people in the area are not fond of leaving their pets outside, since they can become easy prey. This is also confirmed by a report from a woman in Harvey who claimed to have actually seen one of these beings eating a neighbor's dog.
Now that right there is one of the weirdest Chupacabra reports I think I've ever heard. And speaking of heard, I'd like to hear what you guys said over in the chat. Remember, the question was, do you think the different alligator men that we heard about a little bit ago are one in the same species or completely different? Remember, it was 1 if you think they are one in the same, 2 if you think they're completely different creatures, and 3 if you're unsure. Let's see what you guys said. JoJo's over here says, 1, they are definitely one in the same. We're looking at the same creatures across the board. My Life DIY 2, not so much. These are 2 different species, says My Life. I don't think they're one in the same at all, she says. Sandy B with the 1, possibly, she says. Possibly they could be of the same species. Just misidentified, if you will. Misgendered. Just kidding. Misidentified, if you will. Scarecrow Strawman in the Rippin' Rabbit Hole chat says 3, can't call it, but maybe Animorphs or Chimeras. I'm kind of on the fence with this one. I'm not sure if they're the same species or not. I see a lot of likenesses that would suggest that most likely they are, but I really am not sure either way. JoJo says grunge troll. Hello, Prairie Fire. Better late than never. We're glad to have you here. Absolutely. All right, so far we have covered some swamp cryptids, some alligator or lizard men. We've covered a ground cryptid. Tell me, Ben, do we have any flying cryptids in Louisiana?
Louisiana is said to have a Thunderbird flying around. This bird has been spotted all over the state, but an interesting report mentions one in Marthaville.
If I'm not mistaken, we haven't had a Thunderbird report since way back when we did the Arizona episode.
In 1978, a man named Terrell Wilson and his brother were staying at their grandfather's farm during the summer.
Hello, Oiler Greg says Louisiana has scary stuff. Yes, sir, it does, like this Thunderbird right here.
While there, he heard his grandfather and his great-uncle named Buddy discussing how they had recently found several of their cattle mutilated by what appeared to be an abnormally large bird. At first, the boys thought these stories were being told in order to scare them.
And I would say, of course, any rational person would assume that this was just being made up as a scare tactic. But like myself, they decided to try to get the evidence.
Not long after this, they decided to hide in the woods by the pasture in order to keep an eye out for this alleged bird. Suddenly, the pair heard the thunderous sound of wings flapping, and to their shock, they saw a giant bird land on the far side of the pasture. Terrell claims it stood 8 feet tall, was more fowl-like than reptile, and its feathers were a dark gray color.
For the record, I have never read a case file of a reptile Thunderbird, so I really don't know where he got that from.
The creature stood there for only a minute before the cows realized what was going on and started to stampede away from the being. The cattle actually started to run towards the boys, so the pair decided it was best to get away.
So for anyone who wants to argue that they were hallucinating this event, apparently the cows were hallucinating with them, right? They had to run from the stampede caused by the Thunderbird. But the Thunderbird isn't the only flying cryptid that we have in this state. You guys may remember we've also had reports of pterosaurs in different states, and Louisiana also has its own version of the pterosaur. But before we get into this case file, I'd like to know, what do you think about the pterosaurs? Do you think it's possible that some of the dinosaurs have existed until this time? Or do you think it's a little bit of a misjudged creature of some other type? Go ahead and put a 1 in the chat room if you think that pterosaurs and dinosaurs absolutely still exist to this day. Go ahead and put a 2 in the chat room if you think, nope, that's just a little bit much for you. Or put a 3 in the chat room if you're unsure. And while we are waiting on those answers to come in, we'll go ahead and check out our next case file.
Going from one flying animal to another, we find reports of pterosaurs still living in the state. Since 1994, there were at least 4 separate reports of people seeing this type of cryptid, 2 of which were over Lake Pontchartrain, 1 in Nulano, and the following report from the town of Slidell. On October 10, 2013, a woman was outside her house when she heard a sound very similar to a crow, but very much louder. As she looked up, she saw a creature flying that had smooth skin, a long neck, and its beak was filled with teeth. Fearful for her life, she went back inside and called the Game Commission, but they didn't take her call seriously.
I highly doubt that they did not take her call seriously. I believe they probably did take it seriously and covered it up as best they could.
Jumping back to the Lake Pontchartrain sightings comes a report from a man named Ryan Kelsey. In 1994, Ryan was outside of his vehicle since it had broke down. While standing there, he noticed a large flying creature they assumed to be a blackbird. As it neared, he realized that it wasn't a bird, but more of a pterosaur. He stated that it was around 200 feet from him and stayed 20 feet above the lake's surface. From his point of view, he noted that it had a long tail, shiny leathery skin, a long beak, its wingspan was between 15 and 20 feet, and its head ended in a point behind the neck, which was described as an elongated cone.
Which, of course, sounds like a classic pterodactyl. And speaking of sounds, let's see what you guys sounded off in the chat room. Remember, 1, if you believe that pterosaurs and dinosaurs still exist to this day. 2, if you think absolutely not, that's a bridge too far for you. And 3, if you're just unsure. Let's see what you guys had to say. And we're going to start now over in the Rippin' Rabbit Hole chat. Errol Taylor says 3. I don't quite know either way. Sandy B says, I think 3. And over in the DarkWolf's Den Show chat, Euler Greg says 3. Not sure either way. My Life DIY with a 3. I think dimensional, so in and out sometimes. Prairie Fire coming in also with the 3. Quite surprised by this one. 3s across the board here. There's come Scarecrow Strawman with the 1. Absolutely, they can be real. Man, Danny Mall with the 1. Absolutely, they are real. JoJo's 3, not quite sure. I'm really amazed by the number of 3s on this question. Definitely not what I was expecting. Euler Greg says, I've been to the swamps of Louisiana. You definitely need a strong drink there. Hey, I have a feeling down there that is not the worst thing going on. It would be a hard drink, right? Our last case file tonight is a creature that we have tracked once again all across this country. If you've been following the State of Mystery series, you know exactly what big-footed creature we're talking about.
It should come as no surprise that Bigfoot is sighted in this area, along with the other version of it known as the skunk ape.
We also hear stories of the skunk ape a lot from Florida. Perhaps it has to do with the swampy ocean-side type area. Perhaps that is what this particular Bigfoot is drawn to, or even the area in which they are known to live.
It is worth noting that the Honey Island swamp monster is worthy to be on this list, but really it is basically a three-toed Bigfoot.
And of course, as we have learned across the various State of Mystery episodes, that the three-toed creatures seem to appear a lot within the cryptids.
I also found an interesting story about a group of kids coming across what they describe as a pair of hellhounds in a local cemetery.
If any place that I expected to see hellhounds, Louisiana is definitely on that list, right?
Interestingly, I also saw reports of a type of sea serpent that was first spotted in 1864. Although there are other sightings that are very similar to the plesiosaur type of creature.
And that makes the second dinosaur case file for Louisiana. For those who don't know what a plesiosaur is, think Loch Ness Monster or even Champy.
Finally, I debated including this one on the list, but there is a fascinating story about vampires in New Orleans. First, I wasn't sure if I consider a vampire a cryptid, and secondly, there is a lot of debatable information.
You know, when he said that at first, the first thing I thought was Anne Rice does live in New Orleans.
As to if these stories are even considered real in the state, or if they were made up to scare tourists.
And that is a good possibility that it could just be a tourist type story, but I'm with Ben. I don't know how I would classify a vampire. I wouldn't really classify it as a cryptid personally. That seems to me like its own category of character, right? But unfortunately, that music means we have to go ahead and take a network break right here. So my name's Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you're listening to the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show exclusively on Rippin' Common Sense Radio, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. We'll be right back with the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Show after these messages. Don't you touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah, your weekend has officially begun. Hi everyone, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit. Are you enjoying the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show State of Mystery for Louisiana? I know I am. If you are and you haven't done so already, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. We're here every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, bringing you the very best of common sense radio, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. Jerry Hicks and I will return again tomorrow afternoon, Thursday, October 21st, starting at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, as we're covering the peaceful rally for freedom taking place in downtown Ripon, Wisconsin, as we are going to cover the event live. Again, that's tomorrow, just before the Thursday night DarkWolf's Den show, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm sorry. So that's like 2 p.m. Pacific and 5 p.m. Eastern. But join us. We invite you to subscribe if you haven't done so already, so you get that notification when it goes live. We're going to bring you all the details and share with you what exactly we're standing up for, the workers and their right to choose at the J.M. Smucker Company. So that's going to be a live broadcast, a little extra time for you on your Thursday night. And then, of course, Jerry Hicks and the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show will return Thursday night, October 21st at his regular time, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Come along with him as he howls at haunted colleges. I have a feeling Ripon College is on that list too. We'll see. Then I'll return Friday night for Follow the Money. That's right. Come down the freaky journey of the Ripon Rabbit Hole and follow the money. That's what we're going to do October 22nd, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then Saturday night, a look at Choose Freedom. That's what we're going to be dealing with Saturday, October 23rd, 7 p.m. I'm going to invite some of the hardworking men and women that took place with this peaceful rally for freedom. I'm going to invite them on. They're going to talk openly about what it is they're choosing to stand for. It's going to be an interesting Saturday night. Again, Saturday, October 23rd, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then we'll end out the weekend right together with you. Sunday night, October 24th, dive down the rabbit hole of American education. It is a show you will not want to miss. What's happening in public school systems and the American education system today is just unbelievable, and that's going to end out the weekend right together with you. We'll return back to the state of mystery, Louisiana, for tonight, October 20th, 2021. You're listening to the Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole.
Oh, what that aroma can do, brighter day for me and you. The best part of waking up.
The best part of waking up is having a job, and that is exactly what the hardworking men and women at J.M. Smucker Co. who bring you Folgers coffee won't have if they don't get the jab. Hey, Smuckers, consumers are now boycotting your 40 brands. Call 1-888-550-9555 and tell them everyone should have the freedom of choice.
Once again, that number is 1-888-555. Hold on, we'll get the number here in just a second. 1-888-550-9555. Call them and let them know that you believe in freedom and not being forced to do things against your will that are very highly unethical, to say the least. Stand up for what's right and help others to do the same. Make sure you give them a call and let them know you will not be buying their product until they change their policies. Reestablishing multiverse connection. Connection reestablished and secure.
This is My Life DIY, and
hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Rippin' Common Sense Radio.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Show for Wednesday, October the 20th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just tuning in tonight, we have been discussing the state of mystery of Louisiana. From the cryptids of the lizard men, to a chupacabra-like creature, to little people, and even dinosaurs. It seems in the way of cryptids, Louisiana is completely packed full. Don't forget about the Bigfoots also. And in the second half, we're going to go over the UFO and ghost case files that we're able to find in Louisiana. Unfortunately, I was only able to find one good case file to present, although from looking at them, there are a ton ton of case files, UFO-wise, in Louisiana. Just not any that I could find a good audio bite for, except this one.
Tonight, a mysterious object filmed above Shreveport's downtown airport. The video of the mysterious object you're about to see in slow motion came to us from local flight instructor Kevin Morse.
Unfortunately, I have not really mastered the trick of adding video to the YouTube stream, so we'll work on that another time.
He says a fellow instructor captured these images 2 weeks ago of something hovering about 10,000 feet in the air and about 80 feet long. The best view comes when it turns sideways, revealing a dozen or so structures running the length of the object. After about 5 minutes, it eventually flew away toward the Shreveport Regional Airport.
And here is one witness's expert opinion. And I say expert opinion because the voice you're about to hear belongs to a man named Kevin Morris, who is a flight instructor by trade.
I thought it was very interesting. I've spent a lot of time in the air and I've never seen anything like that. I knew it wasn't a balloon or an airplane or a parachute or anything like that, so I have no idea what it is.
And as a flight instructor, I can guarantee that he has had a couple 100 hours in the air, if not more, right? He's seen what all's up there and what isn't, and clearly there's something here that does not belong, right? And another thing that doesn't belong in this reality are the consciousnesses that have passed over, although we still find quite a few evidences of them inhabiting this realm, also known as ghost, right? And Louisiana, of course, being the home of American voodoo, has more than its fair share of ghosts.
The Lafayette Cemetery. The Lafayette Cemetery in New Orleans was built in 1833 and has been featured in multiple scary books, movies, and stories, making it the perfect place to start off this countdown. It was quickly filled to capacity in 1847 when a yellow fever outbreak struck. In the heat of the outbreak, when the gates were closed, bodies were often left stacked out front. Visitors to the cemetery report extreme cold spots on warm nights, visual and auditory hallucinations, and shadowy figures roaming about. On several occasions, a large black animal has been spotted trotting between the headstones at night.
Which may be those hellhounds we heard about earlier, but, a graveyard, that's no big surprise. We expect that to be haunted, right? What about a restaurant?
Arnaud's Restaurant. Arnaud's Restaurant in New Orleans was founded in 1918 and is considered by many one of the more active haunts in the state. During business hours, staff and guests report disembodied voices shouting long-lost orders, objects moving on their own, even floating, and extreme temperature drops in random rooms.
Man, that is a long overdue order, right? If you're hearing orders that were placed, like, I don't know, in the 1920s or whenever it was open, like, that is the latest meal ever, right?
The spirits of the original owner, Arnaud Casanave, and his daughter have been sighted on multiple occasions in various places throughout the restaurant.
And as you guys know who have been following this series, this is something else that we see quite a bit, is the owners, original owners, or, the ones that had a large investment in whatever it may be, from a house to a restaurant or whatever the case, a hotel, usually we find this. The owners tend to stick around and caretake the place long after their physical bodies have gone.
Louisiana State University.
That's a show we should do one day, is haunted colleges, because every single state we have come across has had at least one haunted college, right?
LSU in Baton Rouge was founded in 1853 and needs no introduction. As one of the most prestigious universities around, it may surprise some that it's also one of the most haunted. Students and faculty alike report shadowy figures that chase people across campus, an inexplicable feeling of terror, and otherworldly lights in buildings that are closed. The most famous apparition on campus is located in Pleasant Hall, in room 312, where a student shot herself after attempting to kill her boyfriend.
And yet another case file that has a highly charged, traumatic / emotional connection to it, right? We find this quite a bit if there's highly charged emotions, especially if there's lots of trauma involved. It seems to be a guaranteed making for a haunting, right?
Her translucent form can be seen walking the halls, a look of sadness on her face. She's been known to play small tricks and pranks on students, and isn't especially fond of other women.
You know, I don't mind a playful ghost. They can be kind of fun, actually. Apparently this one only if you're a male, though. If you're a female, it might not be as much fun for
The
you.
Lalaurie Mansion. The Lalaurie Mansion in New Orleans was built in 1832 by Dr. Louis Lalaurie and his wife, Delphine, who was known for brutally torturing slaves and keeping them chained and caged in the attic. During a fire in 1834, her secret torture room was revealed and a mob of townsfolk formed, destroying everything in the house and chasing Delphine into obscurity.
And yet, once again, you have an insanely high amount of trauma, which I would guess came with probably a large amount of emotional energy also.
Visitors to the abode report sudden and extreme feelings of panic, the smell of burning flesh, otherworldly moans, screams, and the sounds of torture coming from the attic. Madame Lalaurie herself is said to stalk the halls, and is rumored to be quite aggressive at times.
Unless you are looking for a more dangerous place to do field research, I would definitely steer clear of this particular house.
The Oak Alley Plantation.
Real quick, Scarecrow Strawman says, I ghosted college altogether and gave away my scholarship to somebody that was going to use it. Instead of college ghost, he's ghosting colleges. I like that.
The Oak Alley Plantation in Vasheri was built in 1837 and is one of the most distinguished haunted locations we've ever featured. Staff and visitors report a wide range of activity, including ghostly piano music, figures darting around corners, hoofprints in fresh mud, and disembodied whispers from dark rooms.
This is something else you don't get a whole lot, are impressions from the spirit world, i.e. Horse prints in fresh mud where there was no horse. We know that disembodied sounds is nothing new, but disembodied creatures leaving footprints, that's kind of new to me.
The most famous ghost here is that of the former owner's daughter, who tripped on her skirt and fell down the stairs, resulting in a fracture that caused her leg to be amputated. Many guests ascending and descending the staircase have reported a feeling of weakness or a quick pain or twinge in their leg, in some cases almost causing them to take that very same fall.
Now, this one I find incredibly interesting because I would argue it's not the ghost that is doing this, but whatever caused the original fall. I don't think it was tripping on a dress. Most likely something happened to this person's leg that made her trip. Could be the same entity that is still today messing with people. It could be that ghost of the girl, but I would argue that the girl was yet another victim of whatever it is that continues to mess with people to this day.
Pirate Alley.
You know, anything with the name Pirates gotta be cool.
If you like pirates and the paranormal, Pirate Alley in New Orleans is one stop you have to make. From the cobblestone streets to Tony Seville's, those walking the alley report all sorts of happenings, including objects moving on their own, the disembodied sounds of cheering and glasses clinking, and the full-bodied apparition of a pirate whom most assume is an actor, only to watch him vanish in front of their very eyes.
And this is, of course, not the first time we have heard of people literally vanishing basically in the smoke in front of people's eyes. We see this quite a bit on battlefields, which we'll get to in just a moment.
It's rumored that the infamous Jean Lafitte ran most of his operations from here, and his ghost is said to show up from time to time, marching the strip, a look of confidence on his face.
So these aren't mere ghostly apparitions, these are full-bodied, real as you and I looking apparitions.
The Uss Kid. The Uss Kid, or DD-661 in Baton Rouge, is a Fletcher-class destroyer that was launched from New Jersey in 1943. It was named after Rear Admiral Isaac C. Kidd, who was the first flag officer to die in World War II and also the first American admiral killed in action.
And, you know, after hearing about the pirate one a moment ago, I can't help but wonder if he was related to the pirate James Kidd, right? Or Captain Kidd.
The Kidd now serves as a museum ship along the Mississippi River. In April of 1945, the Kidd and other ships she was sailing with were hit by kamikaze planes from Japan. The attack left 38 dead and 55 wounded. Instead of abandoning ship, the faithful crew managed to fix her. They kept her afloat and even managed to finish their mission. The Kidd was part of every major campaign since her launch. It's no wonder there are more than a few skeletons in the closets here.
And as we all know, war is heavily charged with both emotion and trauma.
Both guests and staff throughout the years have reported a wide and terrifying range of paranormal occurrences, including light switches physically flicking from on to off, extreme cold spots even in hot rooms, and disembodied commands that are often heard shouted across the deck. Many have also reported the sounds of wounded men screaming, bloodstains appearing in certain rooms, and ghostly arms and legs that protrude suddenly from walls.
I gotta say, if I seen a half of an arm or a half of a leg hanging out of a wall, I may be a little tripped out by that.
And what of the faithful crew members lost to Japan? As local legend has it, they're still here, and many have reported the full-bodied apparitions of soldiers marching their rounds from life, and, surprisingly, even interacting to an extent with the living.
It is really starting to amaze me how many of these case files that we are finding with full-body apparitions opposed to transparent ghostly apparitions, right?
The Chalmette Battlefield.
And just like the university, of course, we had to include this on our list. As we know, every battlefield we've run across has had its fair share of hauntings.
The Chalmette Battlefield in Chalmette, near New Orleans, was the site of the Battle of New Orleans and the last major confrontation between America and Britain during the War of 1812. In the wake of what is described as an overwhelming American victory, the battle that took place here served as the start of a brand new ideal, American democracy smashing out old European ways. And none conveyed that point better than Andrew Jackson, who took an inferior and hastily assembled band of men and was victorious over both a mathematically and also skillfully superior British force.
And you guys remember Andrew Jackson actually came up in the Bell Witch episode. So he has been in the paranormal, around the paranormal, a couple times already within these stories. Welcome, Raul 9000, bruh. Evil twin of Hal 9000. Glad to have you here, Raul. Good to see you, my old friend.
The battle lasted from December 14th of 1814 to January 18th of the following year. Many who wander this haunted old field report a wide range of terrifying occurrences, including the very real sound of gunfire and cannons.
This, of course, is something we've had in every battlefield case file, including ones of my local area also.
Orbs in almost every photograph, and the distant sound of marching drums.
Again, I've not seen a whole lot of orbs and pictures of my local battlefields, but perhaps if I go take more, maybe that would be the case, right? Maybe I just need to go out there and just start snapping pictures left and right? Another thing we find on battlefields a lot are people that think they're watching a reenactment, right? This battlefield is no different.
As with many of the other battlefields we've covered, on several occasions, visitors have reported sitting through what they thought was a full-scale reenactment, detailing gruesome effects and highly praising the performance.
And real quick, before we finish this story, I must say, this has been bothering me all night, and I meant to mention it earlier. I don't remember the spelling of Louisiana the way Louisiana spelled. I always remember it being spelled with 2 N's. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I was mistaken, but every time I've tried to type this out, and it's been a multitude of times because I've had to make the splash screen for the show and, stuff like that. Every time I've typed this out, I've thrown in 2 N's and it's only A-N-A at the end. So am I crazy, ladies and gentlemen? Am I wrong? Is that a mistaken memory for me? I will accept that if it is, because I wasn't 100 on that. But if I'm not the only one who questions the spelling in Louisiana, then perhaps there's something to that. Once again, I don't want to start something where there is nothing, but that's been bothering me this whole episode, and I wanted to say something. And ever since I started planning this episode, is I really, really thought it was spelled different. Mandani Mall says yes, 2 N's for Mandani Mall. Absolutely. So, yeah, I'm not alone in that then. Every time, like I said, I've looked at this word, every time I went to spell it, I've thrown 2 N's in there, and it looks wrong, says Euler Greg. Yes, Mandani Mall. See, that looks right to me. Over in the DarkWolf's Den Show chat, he spelled Louisiana with the 2 N's at the end. Jojo says, I only remember one. National Memorial Gardens with 2 N's. I appreciate that, guys. I'm not as crazy as I thought I was, because I've been... it's been bothering me. Like I said, it's really been bothering me. I don't bring these up very often. Because Siri spells it like I have it. Everywhere I can find spells it like I have it, right? It's kind of the Mandela effect thing of it, with 1 N. But every time I've looked at this word, it's been about a week now. I've been messing with this to getting the show ready for you guys, and I swear that had 2 N's in it. Like I said, I don't like to start rumors or start things or point things out that may not have been if I'm not 100. But yeah, I'm glad somebody has backed me here. I appreciate that, guys, because that has really been bothering me a lot.
Until discovering later that there was no reenactment planned for that day. Also reported here are shadow-like creatures that zip around even in the daylight, disembodied footsteps that sound like they're surrounding visitors, and, at night, strange balls of light that appear hovering in the sky.
And if you are a paranormal researcher looking for a good place to visit and do research, may I suggest any battlefield near you. But what do you guys think? Do you think Louisiana has enough crazy paranormal to consider it a state of mystery? Or do you think we're barking up the wrong tree? In the end, ladies and gentlemen, all you can do is look at the evidence, apply a little common sense, and you be the judge. We got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show for Wednesday, October the 20th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing, but don't you worry, folks. The weekend fun has only just begun. That's right. We will be back tomorrow, Thursday, October the 21st, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, for another episode of the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show. Tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about haunted colleges. That's right. We have found in our State of Mystery series that there's been quite a few of these across the country. So we're going to round up some of the good ones and bring them to you. That's right. Get ready for another night full of haunted fun. Then on Friday, October 22nd, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, our buddy AJ the Rippin' Rabbit takes back to the airwaves with an all-new episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. That's right. This time he'll be diving deep down the rabbit hole of following the money, and let me tell you, that is one of the deepest rabbit holes there ever is. Do you want to find out who's behind the most nefarious things in the world? Following the Money is the episode for you, ladies and gentlemen. That will be airing October 22nd, Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. That's right. Then on Saturday, October 23rd, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. All episodes, by the way, start at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central here on the network. He'll be talking about choosing freedom, or chose freedom. Who are those that did chose to be free? What did they have to go through to get there? And what exactly is the price that we pay to have the freedoms that we have. A deep rabbit hole indeed, and AJ will be diving down it on Saturday, October 23rd, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. And then on Sunday, AJ's going to come back one more time to round the weekend out right with another episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. That's right, one final episode for this week, and he's going to be talking about American school systems. And that really makes you wonder, did you know, just a fun little fact, that there's a reason that the school systems are set up the way that the school systems are set up, right? There's so much to cover, and that rabbit hole may become the deepest one of the entire weekend. So make sure you guys strap in and get ready for a weekend full of fun and very, very deep thought rabbit holes this weekend, ladies and gentlemen, right here on the RippinRabbitHole.com, the Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network. That's right. Speaking of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole, make sure you guys hop on over to the RippinRabbitHole.com. That is RippinRabbitHole.com. That's right. Over there, you're going to find a plethora of amazing stuff. That's right. You're going to find up-to-date news right on the front page every day, all day. Breaking news, anything's breaking, make sure you come on over to the Rippin' Rabbit Hole and check us out. Also, if you've missed especially the latest coverage that we've been doing here on the network in special episodes, make sure that you come on over to the RippinRabbitHole.com, hit the Listen Live button, scroll down, and find the On Demand section. That's where you're going to find everything we've ever done on the network. Also, while you're over there, make sure that you have signed up for your free backstage pass. That's what's going to get you access to all these wonderful extra features of the site, like the On Demand, which is absolutely free and always will be. And you also will receive one email a week, every week, with all the Rippin' Rabbit Holes and DarkWolf's Den shows that we're going to offer all weekend long. And the most important part of the RippinRabbitHole.com, in my opinion right now, is called Down the Rabbit Hole. This is your social media section for those who are Rabbit members, of course. Again, this is absolutely free to be. You can drop down the social media section and you will not be censored like the big boys do, or fact-checked against, their fake fact book, right? In other words, come on over and drop your information. We would love to hear from you. Let's make this the next social media craze. We're going to have a way to communicate outside of those big boys, and it's time we start going to alternative sites like the RippinRabbitHole.com. Who could choose better, right? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's where I'm going to go right now. It's been an honor and a pleasure once again, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, Walt House, everyone involved in Rippin' Common Sense Radio, and Tom Bayless and Red Shed Studios, who created this amazing music for us. Get down with it, Tom. If you're looking for a custom soundtrack for your next project, make sure you check out Red Shed Studios. Links in the description. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all these folks, my name's Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you've been listening to the DarkWolf's Den Show, home of the paranormal talk radio with a common sense twist. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, remember always, stay awake, but dare to dream. Good night, everybody. How? Yeah. That's right. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon.
Unlocked and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here. 'Cause no one's ever.
Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon.
What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the grass glasses queen, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner is it in her?
Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon.
What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays.
FJB, 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 FJB. Let's go, Brandon.
What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner is it in her?
FJB, let's go, Brandon. FJB, let's go, Brandon.
Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Say it with me. FJB, let's go, Brandon. FJB, let's go, Brandon. FJB, let's go, Brandon. FJB, let's go, Brandon. I believe there was something else I was going to say. Oh, yeah. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. FJB.
Oh, what that aroma can do, brighter day for me and you. The best part of waking up.
The best part of waking up is having a job, and that is exactly what the hardworking men and women at J.M. Smucker Co. who bring you Folgers coffee won't have if they don't get the jab. Hey Smuckers, consumers are now boycotting your 40 brands. Call 1-888-550-9555 and tell them everyone should have the freedom of choice.
Once again, that number is 1-888-550-9555. Tell them that you believe in freedom and will not purchase any of their products or use their services in any way until such time that they remember what freedom actually is. One more time, that number is 1-888-550-9555. Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and we hope that you give Smuckers a call. I'm sure they're hoping to hear from you. I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and until next time, good night, everybody. Let's go, Brandon.